spin. 3, 2, 1.
All right, we're about to watch the debate live. Just a little family outing, and we're just gonna hang out on the porch. And got my good buddy Jordan with me, my son Shadank. This is his channel, and we're gonna just watch and give some live reaction to this stuff. It's gonna be crazy. What do you think, Jordan?
I think it's gonna be fun.
Yeah. See, Jordan's more about, I think, and I just met Jordan actually. We just met yesterday, but I think Jordan's more the type of guy, you know, he could take this or leave it, but yet he's so interested like I am, because we all want America to come back.
Yeah. We want what's best for the people.
Right. You know, and ultimately, you know, it's all about policy. I could give a damn how these two argue, but I really want our country back.
Right.
You know, and you know what I talk about all the time.
Yeah.
You know, it's like
Freedom of speech they're trying to take away.
oh yeah, that is Kamala's, that's her goal. She believes that anybody who's talking out of line about government, that they should be silenced. She wants to make it policy. And if she does, if she gets in, I hate to say it, but we're effed. Big. You know, I mean, I'm not a conspiracy theorist by no means.
Well, everything's just, well, it's funny because you can't say that anymore, because everything that's a conspiracy has come true.
That's right. I mean, because it's all natural feeling that we feel. We sense what's coming. You know, and you know, now the Democrats have made it to where they look at it like, you know, we don't care. They admit to it. They openly speak about it.
They do.
You know, and you know what? They want us in concentration camps. I hate to say that, and that sounds so conspiratory, but it's really not.
I'd say, have you ever read the book George Orwell wrote, 1984?
No, but I know Donald Trump's a big fan, and he talks very highly of it.
On the stage in Philadelphia, a gorgeous nighttime skyline view over the city of brotherly love. Of course, you know, that is where it all began, I would say. So 250 years ago, the cradle of
This is going to get crazy,
the
people.
birthplace of American democracy. And so we are gearing up in just seconds as ABC News moderators David Muir
Shane,
and
you know
Davis
how I feel about this. You know how it's like 1984. What was the book about?
So basically it was about where there was a government order where nobody could do anything without the thought police figuring it out. And, well, basically the government made everybody think that if you were to think certain things, the government would know automatically.
Was this during the Clinton era? I believe it was.
Well, he wrote the book back in 1949.
But it was brought to light in '84.
Yes, and they started teaching.
That's when Clinton's winning, and they were so woke. And you know, back in the day, I mean, if I look back at 1984, I was a 17-year-old kid, and now I think back to that day, I didn't care about none of this. None of this mattered to me. I'd hear my dad talk about it. Those frickin' Democrats. Do you got family who, you know, has feelings biased or non-biased to this stuff?
Are you talking about like in the Senate?
Yeah, well, I mean,
I'm more on the conservative side, but
you're still a libertarian, and me too in ways, you know. But I lean more the conservative, progressive in a way.
I have family members that are on both sides.
Do you?
Yeah, and I'm not one to let politics get in the way of stupid shit.
Yeah.
Politics in general are fucking dumb.
It really is. You know, politics are for the politicians. We're not politicians, obviously. You know, and I don't want you to ever be a politician. You're my son. I love you, and I don't want you to be a politician. I don't want you to think politics.
I don't like politics.
I want you to, you know, how old are you, Jordan? 26 years old. You guys have your lives so much in front of you. Me, I'm 57 years old, about to turn 58 in another week. And it's like, I've seen it all.
Your birthday popped up in my phone randomly. Now it's in my calendar.
Did it?
Yeah,
oh my gosh.
It like popped up in my phone. I was going through my work schedule.
Yeah.
I was like, what the fuck?
See, there's a story behind this. Like I said, we just met last night. And here's something totally ironic. He texted me earlier today when I texted him, and we talked about doing this. And he says, oh, by the way, I put you in my phone as Big T. Now, who was Big T?
Grandpa.
That was your grandpa.
Yeah.
They called my dad Big T for 45, 50 years.
Yeah, you know what it is now? Big T Jr.
Yeah, in his memory. I lost my dad a year and 6 months ago. And I gotta say, he was not a politician, wasn't very politically inclined to say, but growing up, I would hear him talk. Okay, here we go. Here we go.
It's more about thinking logically about stuff, not
Yeah.
your emotions.
Yeah, and he did. Wow. This is going to be wild.
I want to begin tonight with
You
the
want
issue
to push
that
back on
voters
that corner so you
repeatedly
can see
say
it?
is their
What's
number
that?
one issue.
You want to push
That is
back
the
here so you can
economy
see
and the
it?
cost
Oh,
of
that's all
living in
good.
this
I don't
country.
know.
Vice President
Sure you
Harris,
wanna
you
come
and
up and
President Trump were
get
elected
in
4
between
years
you here?
ago, and your opponent on the stage here tonight
Bring your chair.
often asks his supporters,
This is a
"Are you
watch
better
party,
off
so
than you
here
were
I
4
can
years ago?"
get like
When
here.
it
I can
comes
still
to
see
the
good if you get in
economy,
right
do you
next to
believe
me.
Americans are better
I
off
can
than
hear
they were
it.
4 years ago?
You might want to see this.
I
This is gonna be
was raised as a
something-
middle-class kid.
Okay,
And
here we
I
go.
am actually the only person
She
on
looks
the
so
stage who
freaking
has
nervous.
a plan that is about lifting up the
Hands
middle-class
already
and working
going.
people of America.
Well,
I believe
actually,
in the ambition,
hands,
the aspirations,
a lot
the
of
dreams
intelligent
of the
people.
American
I'm not saying
people.
she's intelligent.
And
I don't
that
know
is
her
why
personally, so I don't
I
know.
Oh, she's been
have
coached for
actually
this.
planned to
Yeah, they're all-
build what I
they're
call
all
an
at-
opportunity economy. Because
Well,
here's the thing.
trained in this.
We know
So,
that we
needed.
have a shortage
But
of
talking
homes
with your
and
hands
housing.
is like
And the cost of
intelligence
housing
thing
is
as well.
too expensive
Chuck
for
does
far
it
too
too.
many people. We know that young
She's
families
just more
need support
open.
to raise their children, and I intend
Over-exaggerates.
on extending
If you notice when
a
she
tax
talks, she always
cut
shakes her
for
head.
those families
Oh,
of
yeah.
$6,000,
Psychology
which
says
is
She
the
does this with her hair.
child tax
Well, when you
credit
shake
that
your
we
head
have
when you're
given in
talking
a
to
long
somebody,
time,
you can
so
be
that
like,
if those
and
young
then they'll start
families can
shaking their
afford
head,
to
and
buy
then they'll
a
start
crib,
agreeing.
buy a
Really?
car seat, buy
I've heard
clothes for
that
their
theory.
children.
I
I've
read a lot
heard
of
that.
psychology
My
books.
Yeah, I've heard that.
passion, one of them is small businesses.
What she's
I
doing
was
right now.
actually,
This
my
is gonna
mother
get
raised my
wild.
sister and me.
Trump, would you look
But
so
there was a
serious?
woman
He
who
doesn't-
helped
he
raise
doesn't look
us.
happy,
We
do you?
call
I
her
see it
our
on my
second
phone.
mother.
Yeah,
She's
watch
a small
it.
business
Yeah.
owner. I love our
It's
small
amazing.
businesses. My plan is to give a $50,000
This is all
tax deduction
rehearsed
to
and
start up small
like you said, an
businesses,
actor.
knowing they are part
What
of
she's
the
doing.
backbone of America's economy. My opponent, on the other hand, his plan is to do what he has done before, which is to provide a tax cut for billionaires
shaking his head
and big
like, sure,
corporations,
I am going
which
to.
will result in $5 trillion to America's deficit. My opponent has a plan that I call the Trump's sales tax, which would be a 20% tax on everyday goods that you rely on to get through the month.
Isn't that
Economists
already
have said
happening
that
with inflation?
Trump sales
What's
tax
that?
would actually result
Everything's going
for
up, isn't it,
middle-class
taxes?
families
Well,
in
it's
about
all because of
$4,000
Biden-Harris,
more
yeah.
a year.
I mean, you gotta look at what we
Because
had
of
4
his
years ago.
policies and his
My businesses
ideas
were flying
about what should
now
be the
in the last
backs
3
of
years.
I remember when I was in the
middle-class people
military,
paying for
gas
tax
was like
cuts for
99 cents to
billionaires.
$1.
Yeah.
At least on military.
For you
on the
guys, yeah.
military base.
Yeah, we were dealing with the $1.89 in fuel. It was awesome. I had jobs coming in left and right. In the last 3 years, we've almost went under.
75 years pay
Here we
us
go
back
now.
for
Trump's gonna
all
lay
that
it
we've
out.
done for the world.
Lay that
And
smack down, brother.
the tariff will be substantial in some cases. I took in billions and billions of dollars, as you know, from China. In fact, they never took the tariff off because there was so much money they can't. It would totally
She's looking for
destroy
that Dr.
everything
moment.
that they've set out to do. They're taking in billions of dollars from China and other places. They've left the tariffs on. When I had it, I had tariffs, and yet I had no inflation. Look, we've had a terrible economy because inflation has, which is really known as a country buster. It breaks up countries. We have inflation like very few people have ever seen before.
I'm sure they told her to
Probably
put
the
her
worst
eyes
in our
on him.
nation's history. We were at
Well,
21%,
she's
but that's being
watching
generous
him to
because
see
many things are 50,
Facebook
60, 70, and
reaction
80% higher.
Oh, yeah,
than
I
they were just a
guarantee it.
few years ago.
The
This has
smiles.
been a disaster
My biggest
for
pet
people,
peeve
for the
with
middle
this
class,
is it's
but
like
for
two
every
children
class.
bickering
On top of
instead of
that, we
professionals.
have
Yeah,
millions of people pouring into our
Trump's
country
guilty of
from
it. There's no doubt in my
Oh,
mind.
he's a billionaire with a big fucking mouth. He
Yeah.
doesn't care what people call him.
Those late night tweets, you know, that's the worst thing. That was the worst thing I think I hated the most.
by
Is
African
getting
Americans
those.
and Hispanics, and also unions. Unions are going to be affected very soon. And you see what's happening. You see what's happening with towns throughout the United States. You look at Springfield, Ohio. You look at Aurora in Colorado. They are taking over the towns. They're taking over buildings. They're going in violently. These are the people that she and
I
Biden
think it's important
led into our
to just,
country, and they're
like he's doing,
destroying
laying
our
the truth
country.
out.
They're
If he
dangerous.
stays on
They're at the
policy and
highest
doesn't
level
attack
of
her,
criminality,
you know, I think
and we
he's
have
going to
to
be
get
fine.
them
He's just
out.
gotta
We
say
have to get them
facts.
out fast.
That's what he's got to
She's
do.
gonna
One of
spread
the greatest
policy.
economies in the history
What
of
she
our
says
country.
she's going to do.
I'll
Now
do
she's
it
flip flopping
again.
too.
They all say they're
We
going
are
to
going to
do
get to
things.
immigration and
But
border
they,
security
you
during
you
this
can't
debate,
you
but,
can't get it done without
I'd
Congress
like
to begin
Vice
with.
President Harris respond on the economy.
So it's never, it's like police
I'd love to.
officers.
Let's talk
You can't
about
blame
what
cops
Donald
because
Trump
people that put
left
people in
us.
prison
Donald
are
Trump left
the
us
politicians,
the
the
worst
judge, and the jury.
unemployment since the
Cops
Great
just uphold the
Depression.
law. And they're the
Donald
ones that
Trump
dictate
left
whether
us the worst
you
public health
go to jail
Right,
epidemic
or get
in a
arrested.
century.
Or get
Donald
charged.
Trump left us
tickets.
the worst attack on our democracy since the
I'm
Civil
just gonna turn
War.
this down one notch.
And what we have done is clean up Donald Trump's
Want to go
mess.
more?
What we have done and what I intend to do is
Yeah, maybe
build
just one more.
on what we know are the aspirations and the hopes of the American people.
good?
But I'm going to tell you on this debate tonight,
Yeah, let
you're
me
going to hear
hear.
from the same
I'll
old
let you
tired playbook. A bunch of lies, grievances, and name calling. What you're going to hear tonight is a detailed and dangerous plan called Project 2025 that the former president intends on implementing if he were elected
I have
again.
heard about it, but I don't know what it is.
He has
I believe
no part of it.
very
No, I know.
American
People have
Project
told me that.
2025?
I know nothing about it.
Yeah, he has.
understands the
I know quite a bit
importance
about
of
it.
bringing
The
us
guy
together, knowing we have so
who
much
started
more in
Project
common than what
2025,
separates
he
us,
just
and I pledge to be a president for all Americans.
President Trump will give you a minute to
resigned.
respond.
Resigned from
Nothing to
that.
do, as you know, and as she
It's
knows
over
better
with,
than
and he's
anyone,
going to tell it right
nothing to
now.
do with Project 2025. That's out there. I haven't read it. I don't want to read it purposely. I'm not going to read it. This was a group of people that got together. They came up with some ideas. I guess some good, some bad. But it
Her
makes no
face.
sense. I have nothing
Yeah.
to do. Everybody
No,
knows
she's
I'm an open book. Everybody knows
she's
what
in
I'm going to
ocean
do.
right
Cut
now.
taxes
Oh,
very
yeah.
substantially.
Now, the one thing
and
about
create
Trump
a
is you will
great
never know
economy like I
his
did
emotions
before.
or what he's
We
feeling.
had the
He's
greatest
did the
economy.
Apprentice,
We got hit
you
with
know.
the pandemic.
Like you said,
The
these guys are
pandemic
actors.
was not
Let me
since
use the bathroom.
1917
You
where
want
100
water?
million people died.
Yeah.
Yeah, can I
Hasn't
get water,
been
please?
anything like it. We did a phenomenal job with the pandemic. We handed them over a country where the economy and where the stock market was higher than it was before the pandemic came in. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. We made ventilators for the entire world. We got gowns, we got masks, we did things that nobody thought possible. And people give me credit for rebuilding the military. They give me credit for a lot of things, but not enough credit for the great job we did with the pandemic. But the only jobs they got were bounce back jobs. These were jobs bounced back, and it bounced back and it went to their benefit. But I was the one that created them. They know it, and so does everybody else.
Vice President Harris, I'll let you respond.
So, Donald Trump has no plan for you. And when you look at his economic plan, it's
Here we
all
go.
about tax
What
breaks for the
was,
rich.
what can be.
I am offering what I describe as an opportunity economy. The best economists in our country, if not the world, have viewed our
Was
relative
once
plans
can
for
be
the future
unburdened.
of America. What Goldman Sachs has said is that Donald Trump's plan would make the economy worse, mine would strengthen the economy. What the Wharton School has said is Donald Trump's plan would actually explode the deficit. 16 Nobel laureates have described
They get a drink of
his
water hot to a
economic
girl.
plan as something that would increase inflation, and by the middle of next year, invite a recession. You just have to
We're already in a
look
recession.
at where we are and where
Yeah,
we
we're in
stand
it.
on the issues.
Yeah.
And
She
I'd
just said
invite you to know
invite one. No,
that
we're already in a
Donald
recession.
actually has no
I
plan
feel
for
it.
you
My
because
business
he's more
is.
interested
I
in
mean,
defending
I
himself
do
than
okay,
he is in looking
but
out
I
for
could
you.
do so much
Oh,
better.
the trades aren't doing very well right now. At least the ones that I
This is why, in the light, how I how I feel. Yes, I want his policy. I don't care about the dumb shit that happens with Twitter late at night, the comments, that stuff. I don't care. But I like Donald Trump for his policy. So hopefully we're going to hear a lot tonight.
She copied Biden's plan, and it's like 4 sentences, like spot run. 4 sentences that are just, oh, we'll try and lower taxes. She doesn't have a plan. Take a look at her plan. She doesn't have a plan.
She doesn't.
Mr. President, I do want to drill down on something you both brought up. The Vice President brought up your tariffs, you were smart, and let's drill down on this, because your plan is what she calls as a
He had
national
ABC in their
sales
back
tax.
pocket.
Your proposal calls for tariffs, as
Oh,
you
yeah.
pointed out here, on
They've
foreign
got a
imports
lot of the
across
news
board. You
outlets
recently
are-
said that you might double your plan, imposing tariffs up to 20% on goods
shouldn't be
coming
the
into
case.
this
They should
country.
all be
No,
As you know, many economists say
this
that with tariffs
crap,
at that level costs
I never
President Harris
as they are.
food, clothing, medication, arguing it costs the typical family nearly $4,000
It's awesome.
a year. Do you believe
There
Americans
is.
can afford
Politicians keep getting rich and we keep getting broke.
And who's going to have higher prices is China and all of the countries.
Well, the
that
whole
have
thing
been
is to
ripping us
make
off
the
for years.
poor and then the
I
higher
charge, I was
class.
the only
Poor,
president
middle, and high.
China's
Not the
paying
middle
us
class.
hundreds of billions of dollars, and so were other countries. If she doesn't like them, they should have gone out and they should have immediately cut the tariffs. But those tariffs are 2.5 years now under their administration. We are going to take billions of dollars, hundreds of billions of dollars. I had no inflation, virtually no inflation. They had the highest inflation perhaps in the history of our country because I've never seen a worse period of time. People can't go out and buy cereal or bacon or eggs or anything else. The people of our country are absolutely dying with what they've done. They've destroyed the economy. And all you have to do is look at a poll. The polls say 80 and 85 and even 90% that the Trump economy was great, that their economy was terrible.
Vice President Trump response in your because the administration did keep a number of the Trump tariffs in place. So how do you respond?
Well, let's be clear that the Trump administration resulted in a trade deficit, one of the highest we've ever seen in the history of America. He invited trade wars. You want to talk about his deal with China? What he ended up doing is under Donald Trump's presidency, he ended up selling American chips to help them improve and modernize their military. Basically sold when a policy of China should be in making sure the United States of America wins the competition for the 21st century, which means focusing on the details of what
See,
that
that's the
requires,
dangerous thing.
on relationships with our allies,
They don't
focusing
care
on
about
investing in
tomorrow, they care about
American-based
the future.
technology so that
So,
we win
well,
the
that's what
race
they're planning
on
for,
AI,
man.
on quantum
They-
They're the
computing.
only country that does.
They
They're
said
not
by 2030, they want America.
So
I
that
mean,
we
pretty much do.
having
and
ended on
they've got a lot
the
of
stick.
land
Man,
In
around
terms
our
of
bases.
workers'
We owe them so
rights.
much money.
But what Donald Trump did,
Hopefully
let's talk
he
about
gets in
this,
here and
with
puts the
COVID,
tariffs back
was
on
he
him.
actually thanked President Xi. What he did during COVID, look at this tweet. Thank you, President Xi, at one point when we know Xi was responsible for
Show up to
and
China,
not giving us
to
transparency
California.
about the origins of
Her?
COVID.
No, she,
President Trump will let you
the
respond.
president of China.
When? Recently?
Like,
No, actually, Gavin Newsom went to China.
Like they have, and
I
policies
thought
like
the Chinese came to.
Oh, he said Goonies. Yeah, one of his groups down to talk with us because he wouldn't come. Then Gavin Newsom took a flight out and stayed there for like a week and tried to make a play nice, but had and she her look at her just gloating, trying to get his best.
Well, he's not even going to look at it.
He's not going to look at her because he does. He, just like every one of us. I mean, I don't know how you feel, but I can't stand her, and that's my bias. But it's only because I know who she is.
Oh,
I
know.
follow her so closely. Yeah, I just have a serious bias towards her, like a lot of Americans, because she freaking stuff, man.
What a pop, California.
Yeah, big time.
See,
Senator.
I wouldn't have an issue with her if she didn't have the past she did, and if she actually would uphold the promises and all the stuff, you know. Like, if you look at the sheriff out here, he's a Democrat. He does very good, you know, for what he's supposed to do. So that's why he got reelected.
Yeah.
You know, Republicans, conservatives, and fucking liberals voted for him a lot.
Yeah, no, I agree. I see this whole gotcha thing happening right now, and you know, I sit as somebody who follows it so closely. Man, as long as Trump stays on policy and stays on this, and doesn't give her what she wants, because she's looking for it. She's looking for him to look over and say he's not going to look. You're right.
West Virginia, not the current governor, is doing an excellent job, but the governor before, he said the baby will be born, and we will.
And if this is all she's got, is to sit and stare him down, that's not going to bode well for her. That's just not, because everybody predicted she would do something. You know, she was coached for 10 days. You know, I guarantee she's on lorazepam or something. She's got something in her. Or she drank maybe half a bottle of wine. I don't know. I know she's a drunk. There's no doubt.
I don't know.
She's a drinker.
Is okay, and that's not okay with me. Hence the vote. But what I did is something for 52 years they've been trying to be way in the states, and through the genius and heart and strength of 6 Supreme Court justices, we were able to do that. I believe exception, rape, incest, and life of the mother. I believe strongly in it. Ronald Reagan did also. 85% of Republicans do. Exceptions, very important. But we were able to get it, and now states are voting. And for the first time, you're going to see, look, this is an issue that's torn our country apart for 52 years. Every legal scholar, every Democrat, every Republican, liberal, conservative, they all want this to be brought back to the states where the people could vote. And what happened? It happened. Now, Ohio, the vote was somewhat liberal. Kansas, the vote was somewhat liberal, much more liberal than people would have thought. But each individual state is voting. It's the vote of the people now. It's not tied up in the federal government. I did a great service in doing it. It took courage to do it. And the Supreme Court had great courage in doing it. And I give tremendous credit to those 6 justices.
There is no state in this country where it is legal to kill a baby after it's born. Madam Vice President, I want to get your response to President Trump. Well, as I said, you're going to hear a bunch of lies, and that's not actually a surprising fact. Let's understand how we got here. Donald Trump hand-selected 3 members of the United States Supreme Court with the intention that they would undo the protections of Roe v. Wade. And they did exactly as he intended. And now in over 20 states, there are Trump abortion bans, which make it criminal for a doctor or nurse to provide health care. In one state, it provides prison for life. Trump abortion bans.
See, my opinion on it is, if that's the only reason why you're not going to vote for a person because they put that in the that just means if you make that mistake, then you don't want to own up to it.
As far as abortion?
Yeah, so don't make that mistake. Don't fuck do it.
No, I agree.
Don't put yourself in that position.
I agree. No, it's a fine line, but you know, I mean, I think he's doing what's right by giving it back to the states.
Yeah. Well, the state should always have.
Should have been that way for years.
Yeah, it's supposed to be that way. State oversees federal.
I mean, it's not taking away abortion. It's just giving the states who believe in abortion who don't. Just like California, you're always going to have abortion. So you could jump one state to the next and get an abortion.
Oh, don't be wrong. I don't care. If you want to get an abortion, get an abortion.
It's your call. You gotta live with yourself, you know.
It's not my body's not the one getting damaged. I'm not the one that's got to live with it.
Pregnancy to term? They don't want that. And I pledge to you, when Congress passes a bill to put back in place the protections of Roe v. Wade, as President of the United States, I will proudly sign it into law. But understand, if Donald Trump were to be reelected, he will sign a national abortion ban. Understand, in his Project 2025, there would be a national abortion, a monitor that would be monitoring your pregnancies.
She's always going to bring it up because people believe it.
I think the American
the Dems fully back it.
That certain
but
freedoms,
he has nothing to do with
in
it.
particular the freedom to make decisions about one's own body, should not be made by the government. Thank you, Vice President Harris.
Well, there she goes again. It's a lie. I'm not
You know who
signing a
said that?
ban, and there's no
The
reason
coin
to
that
sign
phrase,
a ban
there she goes
because
again,
we've
or
gotten
you?
what everybody wanted.
Ronald Reagan.
Democrats,
There you go
Republicans,
again.
and everybody else.
Watch the
and
movie
every
with
legal
Dennis Quaid.
scholar wanted
The one
it
that
to
just
be
came
brought
out?
back
Oh,
into the states.
I
And
haven't
the
seen it.
states
I
are
can't wait to
voting.
watch it
And
though.
it may take a little time.
I was a pretty big
but
fan
for
of Ronald
52
Reagan.
years, this issue has torn
I know he was a
our
businessman
country
as well. He wasn't
apart.
a
Just like
They wanted it back in the states, and I did something that nobody thought was possible.
You missed me.
The states are now voting.
Huh?
What
You
she
missed it.
says is
The balloon
an
pop?
absolute lie.
After the
And
assassination
as far as the
Oh,
abortion
right.
ban, no, I'm not
Yeah,
in favor of
that was
abortion ban,
crazy.
but it doesn't
I was
matter
watching it when
because
it happened.
this issue has has now been taken over by the states.
Would you veto a national abortion ban if it came to...
Two things. Number one, since you'll never get the vote, impossible for her to get the vote, especially now with the 50-50, essentially 50-50 in both Senate and the House. You're going to get the vote. Student loans terminated, and it ended up being a total catastrophe. The student loans, and then
Another thing where people just don't want to deal with the consequences of their actions.
Right.
I want to take out all these schools and not pay the other people in the country to
He
do
went
it.
out, got rejected again by the Supreme Court. So all these students got taunted with this whole thing about this whole idea. Unfair would have been the reason.
And the Supreme Court rejected.
Rejected it, what?
Yeah, and they're still pushing.
It's the same way that they talked about that they talk about abortion.
But if I could just get a yes or no, because your running mate, J.D. Vance, has
Here we
said
go,
that you would
ABC.
veto it if you did come to your...
Well, I did discuss with, in all fairness, J.D., and I don't mind if he has a certain view, but I think you're speaking for me, but I really did. Look, we don't have to discuss it, because she'd never be able, it's like she loans. They didn't to get her loans. They taunted young people and a lot of other people that had loans. They can never get this approved. So it doesn't matter what she says about going to Congress. If Elizabeth was doing
Fair enough.
Tablet.
everybody said couldn't be done. And
Well,
now
I
you
wonder
have
if she's
a
got an
vote of the
earpiece.
people on
Oh, she's
If
definitely. They
Vice
both
President
probably
Harris
have
want to give you your time to respond, I want to put your word any restrictions on abortion.
Absolutely support reinstating the protections of Roe v. Wade, and as you rightly mentioned, nowhere in America
There we go. The
is a
handshake.
woman carrying a pregnancy
Right.
to term and enacting happening resulting women of America. Understand what has been happening under Donald Trump's abortion bans. Couples who pray and dream of
Let's
having
get
a
off
family
abortion, man.
are being
Let's get
denied
on. They're trying to keep it on
IVF
abortion.
What is happening in our country?
Let's get on to the economy.
Working people,
Let's get on to
working
these
women
10 million
who
crossing
are
the.
one for child as have to another
He's
state
like trying to look at
to
something.
get on a plane sitting next to strangers
I think he's
to
like,
go and get the health care she needs.
Donald Trump's like, what a
Barely
hole.
can afford to do it. Putting
That's what he.
You know she.
Yeah,
Is she?
have not
Yeah,
that the
she's 60
majority
years
of
old, bro.
Americans
I didn't know.
Tupac would
has
be like
rights to make
64
decisions
now.
about her own body,
Okay,
and that is why
look up Willie
in
Brown.
every state
I
I know
just
she
posted-
dated Willie
has
Brown. That's the
been
one
on
that I heard
the
about.
ballot in
I didn't know she was on the with Willie Brown.
Yeah, he was mayor of
Vice
San
President
Francisco,
Harris.
and she slipped away the top to him.
It's another lie. I have been a leader on IVF, which is fertilization. The IVF, I am a leader. In fact,
It's
I got negative decision on IVF
He has been.
for the people.
Well,
And the
this opens it up so your
legislature
health care has to
2 days
cover
later
it,
voted
or the government
I've been
is,
a
and
leader
they'll tell you.
on it. They know that, and everybody else knows it. I have been a leader on fertilization, IVF, and the other thing you should ask: will she allow abortion in the
you
8th
go.
month, 9th month, 7th month? Okay, would you do that? Why don't you ask him that
why
question?
don't you
That's
answer
the
the
question.
How are they talking over each other?
Answer the question with your veto.
You could do abortion.
These mics are supposed to be blocked.
The 8th month, the 9th month,
not true.
and probably after.
But
Just
the last
look
time
at
they
the
turned
governor,
his mic
former
off, remember
governor
that?
But this is supposed to be just like
The governor
CNN.
of Virginia said, we put the baby aside.
What
Determine
fuck?
what we wanna do to the baby.
President Trump, thank you.
We're going to turn now to immigration.
How did they
Yeah,
let that
Security,
happen?
we know it's an issue that's
Is it?
Republicans, Democrats,
That-
across
they have a
the board,
contract.
in this country. Vice
I
President
cannot
Harris,
believe that
you
that
were
just
tasked
happened.
by
Trump's not
President
gonna
Biden with getting
Oh,
to the
no, I don't think he
causes
cares
of
'cause he can
migration from
out-debate her.
Central America.
But
We know that
I'm
illegal
blown
border
away
crossings reached a
that
record high
she's actually
in the
able to
Biden
get in and
administration
talk.
this past
And
June.
ABC made that
President Biden
happen.
imposed tough new asylum restrictions. We know
Look
the
at her
numbers since
eyes,
then
they're
have dropped
creepy.
significantly. My question to you tonight is why
Yeah,
did the
she's,
administration
the
wait until
original hot
6
tool.
months before the election to act? And would you have
She,
done anything
slept her way
differently
right to
from
the top.
President Biden on this?
So I'm the only person on this stage who has prosecuted transnational criminal
here we go.
organizations for the trafficking of guns, drugs, and human
Now she's
beings.
going to say either.
And let me say that the United States Congress, including some of
But yet she never
working there
visited
right now,
Europe.
overtime, trying to do
She
their
didn't go to
job.
Europe either.
It would have
No,
allowed
her
us
statement.
to stop
was
the flow of
yes,
visitors coming into
she was
the
asked
United
that by
States.
Lester Holt.
I know there's so many families
Well, I
watching
didn't go to
tonight
I
who've
didn't
been
go to Europe
personally
either.
affected by the
That's
surge
what
of
she said.
fentanyl in our country. That bill would have put more resources to
And
allow
this
us
bill's a
to
joke.
prosecute transnational
It's
criminal
just for the
organizations
money.
for trafficking in drugs.
Or-
That bill in Congress killed the bill, and you know why? Because he'd prefer to run on a problem instead of fixing a
You're
problem.
gonna fix it.
Understand
It's like
we're
to go them up.
need a leader who engages
That
in
may come.
solutions, who
I hope
actually
so.
addresses the
I'll
problems
be out of a
at
film
hand.
crew
Well, I
behind
mean,
you, bro.
What we
You know
have
why
in the
they
former
sent,
president is
I'm pretty sure the
someone who
reason
would
why,
prefer to
and
run
I'm
on a problem
not entirely
instead of
sure,
fixing a
but
problem.
pretty sure,
And I'll
in
tell
my
you
opinion,
something,
the
he's
reason
gonna
they
talk
went
about
up and
immigration a lot
those
tonight, even though
Venezuelans
it's
that
not
took
the
over
subject
that
that is
apartment
being
complex or
raised.
whatever,
And I'm
because
gonna
the Hells
actually do
Angels were
something
there.
really unusual.
Oh, they were gonna head there.
They were already on their way there.
Yeah, they knew it.
That's the one thing people don't realize is you trying to take over this country, you don't have to just deal with our government and the people. You got the
There's
gangs aren't going to
enough militia in this country. If
If
she wins and she starts pulling this shit, you'll see civil war. It'll be civil unrest.
Hopefully it doesn't come to that.
Oh, I pray it don't,
Yeah.
because I worry about you young guys. It's like,
Well, I'll be fine.
I know what you do.
I-
You're trained. My son are just no boots. You know, it's like,
Vice President
Sucks.
Harris
It'll
thanked
be-
President Trump
hopefully it
for
doesn't have to come to that.
can I hold my own
Responsibility
and take care of my household?
to
Absolutely.
kill that bill and
But
successfully
how
so
far
that
can I go?
bills into
My
petition
biggest
agents.
concern that is the psychopath. The people will take it too far.
She said people start leaving. People
Start
don't
killing
go to
people
her
for no
rallies.
reason.
There's
No,
no
I know.
reason to go.
Terrible.
And the people that do
He's
go,
giving
she's
the rebuttal.
bussing them in and paying them to be there.
That Civil War
And
movie,
then
they
showing them in a
predicted
different
that,
light.
or
So
Well,
she
Bond made the
that
movie.
people know
oh,
What? Yeah, I watched it.
incredible rallies in the history of
It
politics.
can happen.
the way they portrayed some of the stuff in there is very well portrayed. Like the psychopaths that were just killing people just because they were from.
That and the electric cars having a mind of their own and driving all over the place.
You can end up in World War III, just to go into another subject. What they have done to our country by allowing these millions and millions
So,
of people to come into our country.
My opinion on that is even if
What's
Trump
happening
does
to the
win
towns
and he
all
tries to
over
reinstate
the
power
United
and
States.
make
A lot of
us
towns don't want to talk. It's not going to be Aurora
world
or
power again,
Springfield.
people
A lot
don't
of
tell them
towns
to go
don't want
pound
to talk
sand
about it
because
they're
we're so
embarrassed by it.
disrespected right
In
now. We're not
Springfield,
feared at all.
they're
That it'll
eating the
cause civil war
dogs, the
and then
people
we'll
that
win.
came in.
Or not
They're
Civil War,
eating
World
the
War III.
cats. They're
Well, let's hope not. Hopefully he
eating the
can
pets
negotiate
of the
out of
people
this.
Oh, I'm sure.
that live
Yeah.
there. And
You
this
know,
is
in that
what's
event, they're
happening
gonna blame
in our
him.
country,
Yeah,
and it's a
look at him,
shame. As far as rallies are concerned, as far as the reason they go is they like what I say. They want to bring our country back. They want to make America great. It's a very simple phrase. Make America great again. She's destroying this country, and if she becomes president, this country doesn't have a chance
That's right.
of success.
It doesn't
Not
take
only
an
success,
individual to destroy
will
a
end up being
country.
Venezuela
It takes a
or
group.
She's got quite the group
I just want
following
to
to do
clarify,
it
you
too.
bring up Springfield, Ohio.
And the number one
ABC
person
News
that's
did
in her
reach
ear
out to the
is
city manager
Obama.
there. He told us
You ever see him? He said it.
He's always been.
Yeah, but have you ever seen the interview back in 2019
Yeah, when he said if I could, I would run again.
if I could have an earpiece and
Why do
sit
you
in my
think when
basement?
they go to all the meetings, everybody ignores Biden and go to him?
Oh, of course.
He's always been the one in power.
Yeah, he's always been.
I'm not taking this
And
for
he will
television.
be if she
I'm
takes
telling you,
power.
just say, man,
I'm
All
always.
this
Yeah.
happened back when I was in high school. Back in 2014 is when all this stuff started.
And believe me, I felt
The
it.
riots with the cops.
My business went to hell then.
And Ukraine's been at war with Russia since 2014. Now it's just not popping off
I
even
actually
worse.
have the
Yeah.
endorsement of 200
I have
Republicans
a
who
buddy
have
that
formally
was out here
worked
that's
with
from
President
Ukraine.
Bush, Mitt Romney,
And a lot of people I
and
do
John
work for,
including
one of
the
them,
endorsement of
he
former
went
Vice President
fought for
Dick
the IDF
Cheney
for a little
and
while
Congress
over in
member
Israel
Liz
against,
Cheney.
I think Syria.
And if you want to
Or
really
not Syria,
know
the
the
Hamas.
inside track on who the former president
Yeah,
is, if
that's
you didn't
a
make it
war I
clear
wouldn't want to
already,
be in, brother.
just ask people who have worked
Man,
with
that's
him.
People ask me all the
His
time
Senseless
why I
war.
want to join the IDF.
Four-star general
They got good
has
benefits.
said
You
he
can
has
become a Jewish
contempt for
ship
the
or
You can
Constitution
go over
of the
join.
United States.
Absolutely, you can.
His former national security
Am I gonna
advisor
do that
has
for
said
another
he is
country?
There's a lot of
dangerous and
Americans,
unfit.
private
His former
contractors working over there
Secretary
right now.
of Defense has said the
Same in
nation,
Ukraine. There
the
was
Republic would never
a group of
survive
Americans that took over an
another
area in
Trump
Russia
Yeah.
term.
with Ukrainians.
And when we listen
Yeah, that's the stuff you don't hear.
Yeah.
You don't. It's the stuff you don't hear
There's
because.
YouTubers on YouTube filming it.
Oh yeah.
Part of it.
I
Yeah,
think the
it's-
choice is clear in this
It's gonna
election.
get crazy, man.
President Trump will give you a quick minute to respond.
Thank you, because when I hear that, see, I'm a different kind of person.
Lay it on
I
it.
fired most of the people. Not so graciously. They did bad things or a bad job. I fired them. They never fired one person. They didn't fire anybody having to do with Afghanistan
Yep.
and the Taliban
I was
and
waiting for
the
him to bring that
13
up.
people
I was hoping he would.
who's
Nobody
were just
got
killed
consequences.
viciously and
There's
violently.
13
And I get to know
families.
the parents and the
Like,
They didn't fire. They should have
fucking
fired all those generals,
Well, that
all
and
those
on top of that,
people, because that was one of
with the
most
stuff you don't,
incompetently
well,
handled
you may hear
situations
more about it, but
anybody
like
has
my
ever
sons and
seen.
other people,
So
I know
when
about it.
somebody does a bad job,
That wound, that lost arm,
Guys,
it's a book, and no one writes a book. Because with me, they can write books. With
I
nobody
know
else
two
can they?
dudes.
Yeah, that's a hard thing to know somebody who went through that, because you'll never know their pain. You can assume, but you'll never know the pain.
One of the biggest things I regret with one of my buddies that came to me with it, and I haven't seen him since. I don't have his number or anything like that. He was trying to talk to me about it, and I kind of ignored it at the time because I was frustrated with it. It's one thing
I don't know how I would talk to somebody like that.
Let me continue on
I really
immigration.
don't.
It was what you wanted to talk about earlier, so let's get back to your deportation
I can hear the distress in his voice.
proposal
In
that
her
the
voice?
Vice President has reacted
Yeah.
to.
No, he
President Trump,
Oh, not
largest
chat.
you say national word, you say things get out of control, you have
No,
no
the
problem
pullout was a
using the U.S.
disaster.
I really think the
military.
mistake
You
he
also
made,
said you would
and
use
I
local
hate to cut
police.
into the video or anything.
How
Maybe we'll
would
wait
you,
till commercial, but
deport
I want to
11
bring up
million
when we do
undocumented
talk
immigrants?
about
I
it.
know you believe that number is much higher.
We came out of there.
What does this like
So
raise
we'll
people
talk
to
about
endure in
that,
this
but
country?
it really hurt him bad what they
Because
did.
of them.
And
They
I
allowed
kind of
criminals.
blame him for some
millions
of
of
why it wasn't done
They
sooner.
allowed terrorists. They allowed common street criminals. They allowed people to come in, drug dealers, to come into our country. And they're now in the United States and told by their countries like Venezuela, don't ever come
zero.
back or we're going to kill you. Do you know that crime
I
in
just figured it was
Venezuela
this
and
time.
crime in countries
Right.
all over the world is way down? You know why? Because they've taken their criminals off the street and they've given them to her to put into our country. And this will be one of the greatest mistakes in history for them to allow. And I think they probably did it because they think they're going to get votes. It's not worth it because they're destroying the fabric of our country by what they've done. There's never been anything done like this at all. They've destroyed the fabric of our country. Millions of people let in, and all over the world, crime is down. All over the world except here. Crime here is up and through the roof, despite their fraudulent statements that they made.
He's got her.
Crime in
He's
this
got her.
country
She's
is
shaking her head.
through the roof. And
Same as when she
uniform
had the
crime is
debate
called
with
migrant crime. And
Tulsi
it's
Gabbard.
happening at levels that nobody thought possible.
President Trump, as you know, the
Back her
FBI
ass in
says
the corner.
overall violent
Have they talked
crime
about
is actually coming
marijuana
down in this
amendment yet
country,
in
but
Florida?
Excuse me, the FBI defrauded. They were
I don't
defrauding
know.
statements.
I know they want to make it
didn't include
legalized
the worst cities.
nationwide.
They didn't include
Oh, I
the
believe
cities
it.
with
Which
the
I think
worst
they should.
crime.
Yeah.
It was
Just get it with.
just like their number of
My goodness, it's like
880,000 jobs that they said they
that's
created turned
another
out to be a
whole show.
fraud.
President Trump, thank you. I'll let you respond, Vice President Harris.
Well, I think this is so rich, coming from someone who has been prosecuted
Here we go.
for national security crimes, economic crimes, election interference.
Don't let her get
Has
you,
been
Trump.
found liable
She just
for
stated
sexual assault.
at least two
and his
things that,
next
oh,
big
three now that
court
Biden was
appearance is in
accused of too.
November at
Oh, of
his own
course.
criminal
But he's too
sentencing.
old and decrepit to
And
do
let's
anything
be
to
And
it.
even if she did any of that,
Where each person
because she's a woman, she would never be
stands
held
on the
accountable,
issue of
especially
what
for
is
sexual
important
assault.
about
You know how many
respect
men
for
get
the
sexually
rule of
assaulted a
law
year?
and respect
women
for
don't
law
get held
enforcement.
accountable for it?
The former vice president
It's
called
not just
for
about the-
defunding
Oh, I understand.
Especially in the workplace.
45,000 agents, get this, on the day after he was arraigned on 34 felony counts. So let's talk about what is important in this race. It is important that we move forward, turn the page on this same old tired rhetoric and address the needs of the American people, address
Thank
what
you.
we need to do about the housing shortage, which I
She
have a
wasn't
plan
so full
for,
of shit,
address
man.
what we must do to support our
Oh, the
small
fact that she's full of
businesses,
shit makes
address
it-
bringing down the price
I
of
agree with
groceries.
what she's saying.
But
No, I do
frankly,
too,
the
but
American
but
people
you
are
can't back it up. She
exhausted
can't.
with this
She's
same
weak as
old
shit.
playbook.
Weakest sauce that could ever be president.
Every one of those cases was started by them against their political opponent, and I'm winning most
on,
of
Trump,
them, and I
we're
will
done.
win the rest of them plus of them. But those are cases, it's called
Just be
weaponization.
cheering for a football game,
In
you know.
this country. They
It's like cheering for a football game,
Department.
I'm not a
Every
freaking
one of
debate.
those cases was involved with the
I'd be
deal.
Never
thought I
from
would sit and
Atlanta and Fawley
see stuff like
Willis
this.
I'd be
to
in bed right
to
now.
the Attorney General of New York and the DA of New York. Every one of those cases, and then they say, "Oh, he's a criminal." They're the ones that made them go after me. By the way, Joe Biden was found essentially guilty on the documents case. And what happened in my documents case? They said, "Oh, that's the toughest of them all."
But he's old.
Complete
Here we go.
and total victory. 2 months ago, it was thrown out. It's weaponization, and they used it, and it's never happened in this country. They used it to try and win an election. They're fake.
President Trump, thank you. A really quick response, Vice President Harris, notion of weaponization of the Justice Department.
Well, let's talk about extreme
And what
and
kills me
understand
is
the
how much
context in which this
ABC
election in 2024 is taking place.
They
The
hate
United
him.
States Supreme
Well, the last
Court
time that he debated, they
recently
basically gave him
ruled
no
that the
time to
former
speak.
president
Or
would
you're not
essentially
talking
be
about the last one
immune
with Joe Biden.
from any
I think the last
misconduct if he were to
election
enter
or-
the White
CNN,
House again.
they were really good to him.
Understand, this is someone
With the Joe
who has
Biden.
openly
Oh, I
said
don't know.
But
he would
the
The
permanently
one that I watched that I believe
the Constitution of the United
That
States.
was
That he would
actually,
weaponize the
you're talking
Department
about the
of
Joe Biden
Justice against his
2019,
political
2020 one.
enemies.
Yeah, I
Someone who
remember
has
that very
openly
well.
That was the last one.
Oh my
expressed
gosh.
disdain for members of our military.
I'm just
What
trying
it
to
mean if Donald Trump were back in the White House with no guardrails?
You're
Because
synced up 'cause
certainly
her
we
hands
know
are
now
doing
the
this.
court won't stop him. We know J.D. Vance is not going to stop him. It's up to the American people.
Vice President
stop
Harris,
him.
thank you. Lindsay.
Vice President Harris, in your last run for president,
This is the one that
That's pretty
weaponizes,
lined
not
up.
me. She weaponizes. I probably took a bullet to the head because of the things that they say about me. They talk about democracy. I'm a threat to democracy. They're
You
the
got him to
threat
turn his mic
to
on.
democracy with a fake Russia
Talk right over him,
investigation
man.
We do have a lot to
that
get
went nowhere.
We have a lot to get to, Lindsay.
Vice President Harris, in your last run for president, you said you wanted to ban fracking. Now you don't. You wanted mandatory government buyback programs for weapons. Now
where
your
she's standing on
campaign
this shit.
says you don't. You supported
Well, it makes too
decriminalizing
much money.
border crossings. Now you're taking a harder line. I know you say that your values have not changed. So then why have so many of your policy positions changed?
So my values have not changed, and I'm going to discuss every one of the, at least every point
Oh,
that you've
he's
made.
stuttering.
But in particular, let's talk about fracking because we're here in Pennsylvania. I made that very clear in 2020. I will not ban fracking. I have not banned fracking as Vice President of the United States.
People are
In
going to
fact,
make a montage of
I
her
was
saying,
the
This is what I
tie-breaking
wanted to
vote on the
see.
Inflation Reduction
Her getting
Act,
nervous.
which opened new leases
He's laughing.
for fracking. My position is that
Shaking
we
his
have
head.
got
'Cause he
to
knows.
invest
She's
in
lying right through her
diverse
teeth right
sources
now.
of energy so we reduce our reliance on foreign oil. We have had the largest
Good.
increase in domestic oil production in history
which is
because
why
of a
was
that
doing
recognizes
overseas.
we cannot
Right?
rely on foreign
Ridiculous.
They have
As
like
it
We've
relates
got
to my
gold
values,
under
let me
our
tell you,
feet.
I grew up a middle-class kid raised by a hardworking mother who worked and saved and was able to buy our first home when I was a teenager.
And you work in
The
McDonald's?
values I
That's a
bring
lie.
to the importance of home ownership, knowing not everybody got handed $400 million on a silver platter and then filed bankruptcy 6 times,
When
is
you
a
run
value that I
businesses,
bring to my work. To
it's
say
different
we
when
are
you run
going to
businesses.
work with
Right.
the private sector and home builders to increase 3 million homes, increase by 3 million homes by the end of my first term. My work that is related to having a friend when I was in high school who was sexually assaulted by her stepfather. And my focus then on protecting women and children from violent crime is based on a value that is deeply grounded in the importance
You see the fucking edit?
of standing up for
No.
those who are most vulnerable.
Well,
There was an
My
edit.
work that is about protecting Social Security and Medicare.
A live edit.
Is based on long-standing work that I have done, protecting
What was it?
seniors from
It
scams.
skipped.
My
She started to say something and it
values
skipped into
have
something
not
different.
Changed. And what is important is that there is a president who actually
They can
brings
do it. I don't know how
Oh,
they
it's
do
got
it.
a 30-second to 45-second delay.
Right. So that's probably how they did it.
And not beating people
Oh,
down.
there it did again.
Did you see it?
I heard it.
Name-calling.
They said
The
that this could
true
happen.
measure of the leader is the leader who actually
So I think if she
understands
starts to
that
stumble,
strength is
they
not in
edited
beating
it.
people down, it's
Your
in
Fox
lifting
News would be
people up.
talking about
I
this.
intend to be that president.
President Trump, your
Well, first of all, I wasn't given $400 million. I wish I was. My father was a Brooklyn builder, Brooklyn, Queens, and a great father, and I learned a lot from him. But I was given a fraction of that, a tiny fraction, and I
$1
built
million.
it into
Yep,
many,
million.
many millions of dollars, many, many millions.
A lot of people don't realize that $1 million is shit. It is to us. To them,
Yeah. He
For a
took that
business,
money and
yes.
ran with it and built his first building.
but a lot of people don't know that when he built that first building, there was a lot that went into it. To where
He
they were
had
like,
to
oh,
take
he didn't
loans
pay-
with it too.
And they were like, oh, he doesn't have to pay taxes because it was part of it because they all profit from it and stuff.
They just want to bury this guy. That I don't agree with.
If you watch the documentary on it, people would understand that. People don't want to educate themselves.
Minnesota, she went out. Wait a minute, I'm talking now. If you don't mind, please. Does that sound familiar?
Oh,
She went out. Minnesota.
he put it on her, son.
Wow.
They killed
I didn't expect that.
burned down
Yeah, she's appalled.
She went out and
Yeah.
She tried talking over.
Live
I
television.
told you they opened that mic up.
Well, I didn't hear her say
She
anything.
started to say what, and he's like, he busted her ass. He gave her what she was trying to pull. Sound familiar? He just won the debate with that right there. That I was hoping that would happen.
Just to finish one thing, so important in my opinion. So I got
She's
the
like,
oil
I can't
business
believe he
going
just
like
said
nobody
I
has
know
ever
she's
done
got to be
before.
wearing a fucking Depends right
They
now.
took over. They got rid of it, started getting rid of it, and the prices were going.
Sorry, YouTube, we're just letting it all hang out now.
These guys go to where they were. I would have been 5 times, 4 times, 5 times higher because you're talking about 3.5 years ago. They got it up to where I was because they had no choice because the prices of energy were quadrupling and doubling. You saw what happened to gasoline. So they said, let's go back to Trump. But if she won the election, the day after that election, they'll go to destroying our country and oil will be dead, fossil fuel will be dead. We'll go back to windmills, we'll go back to solar, where they need a whole desert to get some energy to come out. You ever see a solar plant? By the way, I'm a big fan of solar. But they take 400, 500 acres of desert
President
soil.
Trump, we have a
These
lot of
Those are
things
even really bad for the
that
Comes
environment.
the bias.
Thank you.
Lindsay, thank you.
Solar's really, it's good for the environment, but it's really bad the way they make them.
With the
Same thing
windmills?
Yeah, well, no, windmills and
You know, those windmills.
million
Yeah.
panels didn't build them. The stuff that like they have to mine, and the same thing with electric cars.
Oh, I know.
The
But who's doing
Ethereum and
it?
everything that they use.
China. They got the.
Well,
They got the work.
the same thing. A lot of girls don't realize how makeup's made. A little child is crawling into these little
Yeah,
holes and mining
you're right.
these things, and then they either get caved in on, or they die because they're inhaling toxic shit.
It's terrible. Things. Hey, what are you talking about? These kids over in Africa, slave, and our government is backing this.
peacefully and periodically.
Just the government. Politics.
Because we're buying it through China.
It's your sports guys that kids look up to and stuff like that.
It's a disgrace.
Yeah, they use just about every tool they got in their bag.
Have been treated
They
so
really
badly.
do. Democrats are.
People
They really.
that she
Yeah.
You know how to
remember
cater to
the
people.
borders are.
Trump was only in for 4 years. Other than that, Democrats have had it for the last
16.
16 years.
You're not talking about the border yet. That's because she knows what a bad job they've done. What about those people? When are they going to prosecute? When are they from countries all over the world, South America? They're coming in from all over
Now cities have Chinese police
and
in their
crime
own
rates are
towns.
down all over the world because of it.
But let me
But
just
when
answer.
are those, David, when are those people going to be prosecuted?
tell me.
When are the people that burned
Don't let
down
him cut you off.
Minneapolis be prosecuted? Or Seattle, they went to see, took over a big percentage of the city of Seattle. When are those people going to be prosecuted?
But let me just
Right
ask
You
you.
might ask her that question.
You were the president. You were watching it unfold on television. It's a very simple question as we move forward toward another election. Anything about what you did?
Bullshit.
I had nothing to do with that other than they asked me to make a speech. I showed up for a speech. I said, I think it's going to be big. I went to Nancy Pelosi and the mayor of Washington, D.C., and the mayor put it back in writing, as you know. I said, this is going to be a very big rally or whatever you want to call it. And again, it wasn't done by me. It was done by others. I said, I'd like to give you 10,000 National Guard or soldiers. They rejected me.
declined it.
Nancy Pelosi
And she admitted
rejected
it.
me.
I was
was
there
just
for Biden's
2 weeks
inauguration.
ago, her
We're-
daughter has a tape of her saying
The
she is
inauguration?
fully responsible
After
for what
the
happened.
January
I wanna
6th,
get rid
I
of
was
that
there
tape.
at the
It
inauguration.
would
Really?
have never happened if Nancy Pelosi and the mayor of Washington did their jobs. I wasn't responsible for security. Nancy Pelosi
That's
was
right.
responsible.
That's the
She
truth.
didn't do her job.
The question was about you as president, not about former Speaker Pelosi, but I do want Vice President
That
Harris to
fucking
respond.
guy.
I was at the Capitol on January 6th.
That is so
I
biased.
was the vice president-elect. I was also an acting senator. I was there. And on that day, the president of the United States incited
she
a
was at
violent
that time.
mob
She was running
to
for
attack
vice president with Biden,
our
but she was
nation's
an acting
capital.
senator.
to desecrate our nation's capital. On that day, 140
January
law
6th.
enforcement officers were
Fucking dead horse. It's so ridiculous.
and understand.
Well, the corruption that goes into it
former
and all this
president
shit.
has been
man.
indicted and impeached for
And there's
exactly
still people
that
sitting in
reason.
jail over this.
It's not an isolated situation.
Well, I mean, the video footage
Let's
shows them
remember
clearly
Charlottesville,
escorting people through the building, showing
where
them stuff.
There
which
were
is-
bad apples.
Yeah.
People
Oh, yeah,
carrying
absolutely. I mean, there's the people that are like, march on, you know, the Capitol, and then people are like, no, shut the fuck up. and
Look at Ray
And
Epps.
what did the
I don't know who
president
people-
then
Ray,
and
Ray
now
Epps
say?
is undercover,
There were
and
five
he was telling
on each
people,
side.
"We're gonna march into the
Oh,
Capitol."
and people were telling me shit.
That
Well, they
when
were
it
like,
came to
"Fed,
the
Fed,
Proud Boys,
Fed."
a militia
Sure
Oh,
enough.
you can tell the feds from...
Yeah, sure enough, he was working with the feds.
Same thing in all, like, riots and stuff, when they start popping off, it starts with somebody breaking a window and stuff like that, and people, like, follow them or record them.
Look at
I
poor
said,
Ashley
out there-
Babbitt. She died because he was getting pushed through a window that was
Oh,
broke
the
out.
one where they shot her?
Yeah,
I don't agree with
Nancy
that.
Pelosi had a cop sitting waiting for her and shot her dead.
What
No.
How many people are gonna fit through the fucking...
She was actually
All you
from-
gotta do is walk up and shove that
She
person
was
down.
a retired Marine.
Stand for rule of law and to end the chaos
It was all senseless, man.
and to end the approach that is about attacking the
And the
foundation
political
of our
really just angers
democracy.
the piss.
They don't like the outcome. And be clear on that point.
You're getting
Donald
natural
Trump, the
reaction
candidate,
from guys
has
who
said in
just
this election
love
there
their
will be a
country
flood,
and die for
and
it.
the outcome of this election is not to his liking.
Watching two people
Let's turn the page.
go at it
Let's not
and
go back.
to
Let's
win
chart
a
a
political
course for
post.
the future.
And I get it, we do need a
Backwards to the
president,
past.
Let
but
me just follow up here.
a lot of this is crazy.
Yeah.
Different term, and it
And
was a
Trump
term
is doing the right
that
thing,
related
demanding
because
to
they have
speak.
destroyed our energy business. That was
Because
where
it's-
bloodbath was. Also,
ABC's biased.
Charlottesville. That
They're
story
letting them
has been,
speak.
as you would
And they
say,
should.
debunked.
You know, I mean, if they don't, it's going to they'll lose viewers.
People covered it. Go
They don't have a lot of it.
It was perfect. It was debunked in almost every newspaper, but they still bring it up, just like they bring 2025 up. They bring all of this stuff up. I ask you this: you talk about the Capitol. Why are we allowing these millions of people to come through on the southern border? How come she's not doing anything? And I'll tell you what I would do, and I would be very proud to do it. I would say we would both leave this debate right now. I'd like to see her go down to Washington, D.C. during this debate because we're wasting a lot of time. Go down to, because she's been so bad, it's so ridiculous. Go down to Washington, D.C. and
Well,
let her
attack her, bro.
sign a bill to close up the border because they have the right to do it. They don't need bills. They have the right to do it. The President of the United States, you'll get him out of bed, you'll wake him up at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, you'll say, come on down to the office, let's sign a bill. If he signs a bill that the border is closed, all he has to do is say it to the Border Patrol, who are phenomenal. If they do that, the border is closed.
That's right.
Those people are killing many people, unlike
Executive order.
J6.
We talked immigration here tonight. I do want to focus on this next issue to both of you because it really brings us this into
Hopefully
focus
it's gonna be
truth
your time.
in these times that we're living in. Mr. President, for 3.5 years after you lost the 2020 election, you repeatedly falsely claimed
Oh,
that you
come
won,
on.
and many times saying you won in a landslide. In the past couple of weeks leading up to this debate, you have said, quote, you lost by a whisker, that you, quote, didn't quite make it, that you came up a little bit short.
I said that?
Are you now acknowledging that you lost in
No, I
2020?
don't acknowledge that at all.
But
I
you
said
did
that
say that.
sarcastically, you
But
know
those-
that. It was said, oh, we lost by a whisker. That was said sarcastically. Look, there's so
At least
much
you didn't
proof.
deny
All you
it.
have to do is look at it.
Huh?
And
At
they
least you didn't
should
deny
have
it.
said
No,
I mean,
he-
if he meant it, I haven't seen the video or anything.
He's been
like that.
honest
I got
about it.
almost 75
You
million
know,
votes, the most votes
gotta shut
any
my
sitting
mic.
president has ever gotten. I was told if I got
This is crazy,
63,
people.
which was what I got in
It's really not
2016,
what I
you
expected,
can't be
quite
beaten.
honestly.
The election, people should never be thinking about an election as fraudulent. We need two things. We need walls, and we have to have it. We have to have borders, and we have to have good elections. Our elections are bad. And a lot of these illegal immigrants coming in, they're trying to get them to vote. They can't even speak English. They don't even even know what country they're in practically, and these people are trying to get them to vote, and that's why they're allowing them to come into our country.
I did watch all of these pieces of video. I didn't detect the sarcasm, lost by a whisker. We didn't quite make it. And we should just point out here as clarification, and you know this, you and your allies, 60 cases in front of many judges, many of them
No judge looked at it. They said we didn't have standing. That's the other thing. They said we didn't have standing, a technicality. Can you imagine a system where a person in an election doesn't have standing? The President of the United States doesn't have standing. That's how we lost. If you look at the facts, and I'd love to have you do a special on it, I'll show you Georgia, and I'll show you Wisconsin, and I'll show you Pennsylvania, and I'll show you... We have so many facts and statistics, but you know what? That doesn't matter, because we have to solve the problem right now. That's old news. And the problem that we have right now is we have a nation in decline, and they have put it into decline. We have a nation that is dying, David.
Mr. President, thank you. Vice President Harris, the president there today, he said he didn't say that he lost by whisker, so he still believes he did not lose the election. Was won by President Biden and yourself. But I do want to ask you about something that's come up in the last couple of days. This was a post from President Trump about this upcoming election just weeks away. He said, when I win, those people who cheated, and then he lists donors, elected officials, he says, the full extent of the law, which will include long-term prison sentences. One of your campaign's top lawyers responded saying, we won't let Donald Trump intimidate us. We won't let him suppress the vote. Is that what you believe he's trying to do here?
Donald Trump was fired by everyone. So let's be clear about it. Clearly, he is having a very difficult time.
Sam, I can't be on
We cannot afford to have a president of the United States attempt, as he did in the past, to upend the will of the voters in a free and fair election. And I'm going to tell you that I have traveled the world as Vice President of the United States, and world leaders are laughing at Donald Trump. I have talked with military leaders, some of whom
You can probably keep yours off. Try to keep yours off for now.
Okay.
And let me hear.
When over and over again are court cases you have lost because you did in fact lose that election. It leads us to
beautiful.
believe
Come
that
here, baby.
perhaps we do not have
Yeah.
in the candidate to my right the
Big
temper
girl. Little guy.
or the
Girl.
ability
You're like my little baby, except mine's smaller.
about fact. That's deeply
Is she a
troubling,
Staffy
and the
mix?
American people deserve
half
better.
pit, half bull mastiff.
I'll give you 1 minute to respond.
Let me just say about world leaders.
Good job.
Victor Orban, one of the most respected men. If you think Orban's a strong man, he's a tough person. He's smart.
Alright, try talking, Dad. Or it's.
You still
What do you want me to do?
Oh, you can turn it on. Yeah, I can hear you.
Check one?
Alright.
Afraid of him. China was afraid, and I don't like to use the word afraid, but I'm just quoting
You want me to
him.
grab you a seat?
China was afraid of him. North Korea was afraid of him. Look at what's going on with North Korea. He said Russia was afraid of him. I ended the Nord Stream 2 pipeline, and Biden put it back on day one, but he ended the XL pipeline. The XL pipeline in our country, he ended that, but he let the Russians build a pipeline going all over Europe and heading into Germany, the biggest pipeline in the world. Viktor Orban said it. He said the most respected, most feared person is Donald Trump. We had no problems when Trump was president, but when this weak, pathetic man that you saw at a debate just a few months ago, that if he weren't in that debate, he'd be running instead of her. She got no votes. He got 14 million votes. What you did, you talk about a threat to democracy. He got 14 million votes, and they threw him out of office. And you know what? I'll give you a little secret. He hates her. He can't
Yeah.
stand
Have you seen the video?
14 million votes. They threw him out.
He does
She got
hate her, guys.
0
Biden
votes.
He's
hates her.
also,
And
he
when
doesn't
she
like
ran,
colored people
she
either.
was
He's
the
racist.
first
Oh,
one
he's
to
totally
leave because
racist.
she
He even
failed.
said it years
And
ago.
now she's
You know,
running.
I don't want my
don't
kids growing up in a
understand
racial
it, but
jungle,
I'm okay with it
going to school with blacks.
I think
We
we do very
used to
well.
use the N-word all the time.
In
In Congress or in
Oh,
the
I believe it. Yeah, there's nothing I don't doubt with Biden.
Vice President Harris in December,
I
you
never
said,
knew
quote,
that.
these
Yeah,
are
he's
not
There's videos.
full-blown
If you
racist.
look up videos, you can see videos of him saying it.
Full-blown racist.
respecting Israel must do more to protect innocent civilians. You said
babe.
that 9 months ago now, an estimated 40,000 Palestinians are dead, nearly 100 hostages.
Get out of there, Ford.
Just last week, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said there's not a deal in the making.
Hitties just get a
President
bad rap.
Biden has not been able to break through the stalemate. How would you do it?
Well, let's understand how we got here. On October 7th, Hamas, a terrorist
Let's hear what you got to say
organization,
about this.
slaughtered 1,200 Israelis. Many of them young people
Not
who
even
were
just
simply
Israelis.
attending a concert. Women were horribly
Americans, too.
raped. And so absolutely, I said then, I say now, Israel has a right to defend itself. We would. And how it does so matters. Because it is also true, far too many innocent Palestinians have been killed. Children, mothers. What we know is that this war must end. Must win, and immediately. And the way it will end is we need a ceasefire deal and we need the hostages. And so we will continue to work around the clock
You guys
on
got him
that.
touched the cancer.
Work around the clock, also understanding that we must chart a course for a two-state solution. And in that solution, there must be security for the Israeli people and Israel, and an equal measure for the
And he is like
Palestinians.
lethargic.
But the one thing
I
I
think
will
he's
assure you
just
always, I will always give Israel the ability
What?
to defend itself, in
Arthritis,
particular
the
as it
shepherding
relates
him.
to as Iran and any threat
Who
that
knows what
Iran
happened
and
to
its
him when he was over
proxies
in
pose to
Afghanistan?
Israel.
What they put into
But
it.
we
And if
must
he
have
was
a
a stray,
two-state solution
Who
where
knows
we can
how they
rebuild
treated him.
Gaza,
Yeah,
where
he
the
could have picked up
Palestinians
diseases and stuff.
have
I don't
security,
think that. I think
self-determination,
these
and the
do
they
all
so
that.
rightly deserve.
But
President Trump,
who
how would
knows
you
how
Have you
negotiate
guys
with
had him
Netanyahu
tested or anything?
and also Hamas in order to get
No,
the
I
hostages
just let him
out
live his
and
life
prevent
out.
the killing of
you know,
more innocent
he's
civilians
pretty
in
happy. He
Gaza?
hangs with
Former
Shane.
president,
He does more
it
for
would have
Shane than
never
he does for.
started. Russia never, ever, Putin very well, never, and there was no threat of it either, by the way, for 4 years.
Yeah, that raccoon's up
Have
there.
gone into
You
Ukraine
looked at
and
it.
killed
Ford did.
See that too?
Yeah, they went, and then I was like, you hear that raccoon? He goes, yeah, and he looked over there, I go, dude, it's up in the tree over here
when she
somewhere.
mentions
Yeah,
about
it just started crawling.
all of a sudden, she hates Israel. She didn't even read Netanyahu when he went to Congress to make a very important speech. She refused to be there because she was at a sorority party of hers. She wanted to go to the sorority party.
There you go.
She hates Israel. If she's president, I believe that Israel will not exist within 2 years from now. And I've been pretty good at predictions, and I hope I'm wrong about that one. She hates Israel. At the same time, in her own way, she hates the Arab
He's
population.
gonna bring up that she
The
didn't
whole
attend when
place is
Netanyahu
going to get
came
blown up.
in front of Congress. She was
Arabs,
supposed to be there.
Jewish people,
Bring it
Israel,
up. You need to
Israel
tell it.
will be gone. It would have never happened. Iran was broke under Donald Trump. Now Iran has $300 billion because they took all the sanctions that I had. Iran had no money for Hamas or Hezbollah or any of the 28 different spheres of terror. And they are spheres of terror. Horrible terror. They had no money. There was a big story. And
Come here, sweetie.
You covered it very well, actually. They had no money for terror. They were broke.
Don't want to
Now
keep
they're a rich nation, and now what they're doing is they're spreading that money around. Look at what's happening in Houthis, Yemen. Look at what's going on in the Middle East. This would have never happened. I will get that settled and fast, and I'll get the war
That's what you
with
want to tell.
Ukraine and
You're
Russia
gonna get it
ended.
settled.
If I'm president-elect, I'll get it done before even becoming president.
Vice President Harris, he says he hates Israel.
If she comes,
That's absolutely not true. I have a prior career in life supported
Backpedaling.
Israel and the Israeli people. He knows that he's trying to again divide
Here,
and distract from the reality, which
distract
is very well known that
sounds strange.
Donald Trump is weak
It's also
and
laggy,
wrong on
the
national
camera.
security and foreign policy. It
Is
is
that just
well
me?
known
No,
that
there's
he
lags.
admires dictators.
Which is,
wants
somehow
to be a
they're doing
dictator on day
live
one,
edits.
according to
There's lags.
himself.
Look at that.
It
See
is
it?
well known
Could be CGI.
that he said of Putin that he can do whatever the hell he wants and go into Ukraine.
Swear.
It is well known that he said when Russia went into Ukraine, it was brilliant. It is well known he exchanged love letters with Kim Jong-un, and it is absolutely
Why wouldn't
well
we
known
want to? He's a
that
dangerous
these
man. Why wouldn't we
dictators
want
and
to try and
autocrats
control
are
that?
rooting
Well, this is
for
what the
you
American
to be
people see.
president again
Yeah.
because
The
they're
American
so
people, you know, if you would you want to be friends?
with flattery
You know, the
and
closest
hatred.
things. That's why they call them
And that
frenemies.
is
Yeah,
why
we could change the way that he sees things, possibly. Make their country
Power is for
better too.
negotiation, not war.
Exactly. Oh, I'm surprised he never got a Nobel Prize because he made everything in peace.
Well,
And then a few years
Abraham
later-
Accords, he got the Nobel Prize for that.
Oh, he did?
Yeah. He got 2 Pulitzer Prizes.
Respecting in highest regard our military.
Vice President
But they
Harris,
took the
thank you.
Abraham Accords out.
And she's the one that caused it. That's weak on national security by allowing every nation last year, 168 different
I would edit that
countries
out.
sending people into our country. Their
People
crime
don't know
rates are
what
way
it is.
down.
Oh, that?
Putin
Yeah.
endorsed her last week.
Don't tell
Said, I hope
bullshit.
she wins. And I think he
I
meant
should
it.
have just said it to
Because
where
what he's gotten
it
away
wouldn't
with is
disturb.
absolutely
Turn off all
incredible. It wouldn't
notifications.
have happened with me. The leaders of other countries think that they're weak and incompetent, and they are. They're grossly incompetent. And
That's
I
okay,
just
I'll
ask
probably
one
have to
question.
end it for
Why
me
does
pretty
Biden
soon
go in
anyway.
and kill
It's
the
like,
Keystone
my
Pipeline
head's like
and
totally...
approve the
I saw when you
single
stood up.
biggest deal
Oh my
with
gosh.
Russia's
Probably
ever
got
made? Nord
Yeah,
Stream
because
2,
when
the
I sit
biggest
like this, and if I don't
pipeline
extend
anywhere
it
in
out
the world,
like this,
because
they don't want me to push it too far, but I keep doing it.
They
Right,
have
because
a lot of issues
feels
to get
good,
to.
but then when I get like that, and I leave it, and I sit up like this, they don't want me to reposition. Going to commercial. That's the first commercial break,
Yeah,
wasn't
it
it?
is.
Alright, you guys want to end it?
Did she just
Yeah.
walk away? Oh, no,
I think your mic died anyway.
we can walk
Oh,
away.
did it?
Because I gotta go home, shower, and get ready for work tomorrow.
That's crazy though. I gotta say, she's right in the fucking mouth.
I would say she's definitely trying to
Yeah, it's going good.
figure